Hey guys, welcome back. I'm going to be talking about Sedna that is now in Gemini, and we haven't seen Sedna change signs since 1965. And Sedna is a dwarf planet, very similar to the Pluto family. And Pluto got derailed as a planet because of all of these beautiful Aries, Sedna that are furthest from the galaxy. And so what that means is they affect us the most. And so I'm going to talk to you first about who is Sedna. Who is Sedna and what does that mean in astrology? So I'm going to start with the mythology of Sedna, where there's a couple different stories, but they all mean basically the same thing. And the story that I like the most that really represents Sedna, and I'll tell you guys, I have Sedna very, very, very prominent in my chart. So I've seen lots of betrayal in my lifetime. I've seen a lot of stuff where I'm like, oh yeah, all of that Neptunian energy that Sedna holds, where you're like, oh yeah, like it looks wonderful and great. And then all of a sudden, like someone betrays you. And so I have Sedna very prominent. It's on my ascendant. It opposes my Venus and my sun. So I know all about this energy, which I'm so excited to be shooting this video for you. So the mythology of Sedna was that Sedna was a Greek goddess, and she lived with her father. And she loved her father. She didn't have a mother, but she loved her father. And as she got older, her father wanted her to move out. And so therefore, she brought some men to try to woo her to move out. But she was just like not interested at all in any of these men that her father tried to bring towards her. And so finally her father was so upset with her because she would not move out that in the middle of the night she sold her to this was called a bird man in the Greek mythology. And so he sold her to a bird man, and in the middle of the night he poisoned her, and Birdman took her and flew her away to an island. And so there she woke up on this island, and she was like, where the heck am I? Like, what is going on? Like, what is happening right now? And so what happened is that she woke up on this island. The Birdman told him what happened, and that she was sold basically to marry this man, and she didn't even know that. It sounds a lot like sex trafficking, right? That's going on right now. And so all of a sudden she's sold into this, right? And so her dad was home and felt so bad for what he had done. He's like, oh my gosh, I need to go and save Sedna because of what I've done. Like, I can't do this to my own daughter. And so therefore he went to the island in the middle of the night when Birdman was sleeping to rescue Sedna. And so he put her on his boat and he oared all the way back to home. But in the midst of him trying to get home, Birdman created a huge wake with his arms, this huge wave, so that the boat would turn over. And because he wanted Sedna back, because he bought her. And so what ended up happening was Sedna went onto the side of the boat, and the dad chopped off her fingers so that she would fall into the sea. And they say that her fingers became the sea creatures as she went down to the bottom of the ocean. So she represents the underworld, much like Pluto, but she is all about bringing spirituality from a traumatic event. And this is where you have been betrayed. This is where you have been neglected. This is where you have not been told the truth. And so wherever the Sedna is at in your chart is really showing you that. And we have seen that with Sedna in Taurus a lot, where we've seen a lot of greed with Sedna in Taurus, where we can look at the government or people of employees and employers that have greed over their employees, and it's like, you have to work, and we're like, yes, sure, we'll do anything to work, we'll take whatever vaccine is necessary to do what we have to do, not knowing what is going to happen to us, not knowing the ramifications of the rabbit hole that we are going down, whether it be resources of food, whether it be finances, whether it be anything, like everything that has to do with earthly pleasures, even our cars. 1960s was the automobile boom. And so we could feel this energy of like, wow, as Sedna has been at 29 degrees of Taurus, we have really seen everything come up of like, oh my gosh, we have been, manipulated or lied to the last 3 years. We've been seeing all of that happen and even with the registration and the voting and all of this stuff and the housing and the money and all of this. And so all of this is coming up, and that's what Sedna does, because she exposes the greed to show you where you need to trust yourself and not others, where you need to say, no, I need to trust myself. I need to trust my intuition, which is the C, which is the underworld, which is your own mind and your intuition, and to understand that you can make your own decisions. And a little story about me, I have a couple of them actually. When I had Sedna change signs in my solar arc chart, I got pregnant with my first daughter. And the guy that I got pregnant to, I just started dating him, and he said to me, like, I can't get you pregnant. And I was like, okay, he's like, he was out of college, and he's like, I've never been able to get anyone pregnant. Bam, first time, like, I got pregnant. I was like, oh, right? And so then everyone around me was like, Missy, you need to have an abortion. And I'm like, I can't have an abortion, right? There's the spirituality effect of it, where I had to trust that even though I didn't understand my relationship with this man, I won't talk about it that much, but I didn't understand the relationship. I didn't understand where I was going, all of the whole 9 yards of it. If we can go into that, I really went into a deep spiritual prayer and purge. And that is Sedna, where all of a sudden something happens to you, you get betrayed, and you're like, oh my goodness. And so the beautiful thing about that is, ever since that has happened, other stuff that has happened to me as well, I've been cheated on, like all of this stuff, God has graced me with this beautiful intuition, like Sedna, of knowing when people are going to betray me, because I still love them, in the knowingness of what they're going to do, of what they're going to say, of the outcome of our relationship. Because you always have to remember, people are your teachers, and really understanding that is a beautiful thing, because then you're never attached to how they hurt, harm, or destroy you, and you're just attached to that. Also, working in the sex trafficking arena as well, I, for myself, realized how you get coerced into sex trafficking by my own personal experience as well. And so there was just a lot of stuff that's happened in my life where I have learned, where people betrayed me. It's like, oh, how did I get here? Like, what the heck? Like, how did this even happen to me, right? And so that is Sedna. It's about the greed. It's about somebody taking greed and ownership. And that's why when Sedna goes into Gemini, we're going to see AI take off, artificial intelligence, and there's going to be a lot of controlling over your mind, because that's the greed aspect of Sedna. But the beautiful aspect of Sedna is not allowing the greed to encompass you and take you over, but to seeing, the forest from the trees of like, oh my goodness, all right, I understand Sedna now. I understand astrology. I understand what she did in the sign of Taurus with the money, the banking system, with all of that. Now I'm understanding, okay, now we're going to understand stuff's going to come out. And that's the thing about Sedna. She's going to bring a lot of information up so it can be exposed. We're going to see things like exposed, like lost cities, lost information. It's going to be like an information, I think it's going to be like an information war with all of this stuff coming up. We're going to probably see the economy change in some way. We're going to see a new currency that comes out as Sedna goes into Gemini, because all of that information is going to be exposing all of that. And we're going to see a lot of stuff that has mind control. We're going to see how social media has affected us, how a TV has affected us. Everything around us has affected us. But the beautiful thing about Sedna in Gemini is we're also going to realize how beautiful it is to really understand how our mind works, how it functions, and how we are capable of really coming into this age of Aquarius, which is about telepathy and manifestation. And so that's the huge part I love about Sedna and Gemini. The beautiful part about Sedna and Taurus was realizing that we can create our own food. We can create our own crops. We don't need to rely on the government. We don't need to rely on the governments for certain things. And what I love about this is now that Sedna is getting out of Taurus, we're going to see a big boom when it comes to automobiles and technology and stuff like that, to pull us away from having to be so attached to people above us like the government, where we're going to start having things like solar and solar energy that we're relying more on the energy, which is also Gemini, which is energy, which is your mind, is just frequency. And so we're going to be relying more on that than we are going to be relying on the government. The bad side of Sun and Gemini is we're also going to see where people are going to rely more on technology, more on AI, rather than telepathy and manifestation and owning all of that beautiful Sedna and Gemini energy. And so I want to tell you guys, as we go through 2024 through 2066, when Sedna is going to be there in Gemini this whole entire time, and Pluto's in Aquarius, which is also the water bearer of knowledge, we are going to see so much of power and manipulation and control when it comes to our knowledge and our minds, that you have to really understand, have an open mind frame, really go within, and really with that Saturn and Pisces is making that connection with the divine, making that connection with God, making that connection with your spirit guides or whoever, your intuition, and knowing that you are always being guided. And Sedna and Gemini says, don't be betrayed. Don't be looking at this other person to save you, because they're not, okay? And so Sedna and Gemini really talks about how you can be betrayed by someone and not see them as they truly are. And so this is understanding like you are that, all right? So I'm going to start with Sedna in Aries. So Sedna in Aries, this is going to be in your third house. So if you have this in your third house of Gemini, this is all has to do with communication. And so this is where you have to believe what your own thoughts. Also in Sedna and Gemini, there can be that duality where you're hearing both sides of the stories and you don't know what to believe, and you're choosing one side because you're like feeling like, oh my gosh, I have to believe what my partner says or what the employer says or what the government says, but you know the truth, you know the direction you should be going, and really making that connection to the divine, really listening to your intuition, really understanding where should I be going, how should I be, the direction I should be listening to, the things I should be listening to, the stuff I should be talking about. And this is also telling you where you need to open your throat chakra. You need to speak your truth. Where if you are scared to speak your truth because people are going to betray you, this is where you need to open your throat chakra, speak your truth about what you feel, and own that truth. Be that true ascendant in Aries and own that truth, okay? Next is Ascendant in Taurus. This is me. This is happening in your second house of finances. And so this is where you could get a little bit greedy, or someone could get greedy with your finances as well. This is also too where you could be making more money when it comes to communication, putting stuff out there, but putting out the right information and not doing what the sheep and the herds want you to do, but really talking about the right information, especially when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to elevating people and not misguiding them as well, but really speaking your truth, really owning your truth. And Sedna's been in your first house, and you've kind of been like the lone wolf ever since you were born. If you're born in 1965 or before that, if you had Sedna in your first house, you've kind of always been the lone wolf, where people have always not liked you, they've always not cared about you, or you always felt kind of like an outcast in some way. Now time is asking you to use your voice to make money, to help others, to wake up to that true spiritual calling, especially because the North Node right now is in your 12th house, which is beautiful because it's in Aries. Okay, so my beautiful Geminis, this is happening in your first house. So you might feel a little bit like a lone wolf. You might feel like people betray you. You might feel like where you thought something was supposed to be, that Neptune energy of Sedna, like, oh my gosh, I thought this person was this way, and then they talk bad about you in some way, about your body, the way you look, who you are, how you act, who you be, and you need to just have your own freak flag and just be you, and believe in yourself, believe in what you feel, believe in what you see, own your own thoughts, own your own mind, believe what is coming to you, and own who you are, and don't be part of the crowd and portray yourself by becoming becoming something that you're not because of what other people tell you to look like, to be like, to act like. Do not betray yourself. Listen to your own intuition. Listen to your own mind, okay? All right, my beautiful ascendant in Cancers, this is happening in your 12th house. So the 12th house is all of that unconscious mind. So your psychic ability is going to really kick in. And this is where you need to have a good, solid spiritual foundation, because if you don't, you could be led astray by other spiritual gurus, especially. So you got to listen to your intuition. You got to listen to your instinct. You got to listen to your gut and what you know the truth. You are very highly evolved, and especially with Sedna going into Gemini, you're gonna feel like your psychic faucet turned on, but you have to listen to it, because you will, once you start listening to it and understanding it, you're like, oh my gosh, I totally understand where I'm supposed to be going. I totally understand what I'm supposed to be doing. And so you really understand your psychic faucet is going to turn on. Listen to it, because it is so strong with Sedna and Gemini, because you're hitting those higher frequencies with Sedna and Gemini. Don't be betrayed by gurus and spirituality and what other people think, because you can start your own spiritual course in helping people heal their body, heal their mind, and heal all of the things that encompass spirituality. So you can be a huge healer of the divine at this time, okay? All right, Sedna going into Leo, my beautiful Leos. This is your 11th house. So the 11th house is your social network. This is your groups of friends. So yes, you can be betrayed by your social network, your groups of friends. And so don't trust everybody, okay? With Sedna and Gemini in your 11th house, don't trust everybody, because this is where you have, in Gemini, you have a lot of information. So don't give it away, especially when it comes to your long distance goals, especially when it comes to like all of these beautiful downloads you're getting of how to help others and like how to communicate and what the community should be doing and stuff like that. Do not do that, okay? Do not give information away. Gemini, do not give your information away, because your friends could betray you, all right? All right, my beautiful ascendant in Virgos, this is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house has to do with your public reputation, your career, and so this is where someone could put down your public reputation. Like, oh my gosh, did you see her? Look at all the stuff she's talking about. It's not even real, right? Gemini, look at all the stuff she's talking about. It's not even real. And so this is where you can start off with your own public pursuit of opening your throat chakra, speaking your truth, starting your own business, owning it. Don't listen to what all the naysayers say, okay? Own your spiritual truth, own your spiritual journey. If someone betrays you in business, let them go, all right? Forgive them, put them in a bubble, and allow them to leave your sphere. Do not allow that energy to misguide you or lead you or make you go down the wrong spiritual path of like hate and despair and fear. Be like, no, thank you, bye. I am staying with Sedna, and she's helping me to a higher octave to reach a higher spiritual goal for my 10th house. And you're going to see your business skyrocket with Sedna in your 10th house, okay? Especially when you let go of the naysayers when it comes to your business, and you don't betray yourself in business by doing things that other people want you to do but you don't really want to be doing. This is where you need to own your own what are they trying to tell me? You need to they're like, it's like weird. They're like saying you need to own your own shadow. I don't know why they're telling me that. Like, you have a shadow that you are like living behind, and this is about you owning your shadow is what they're telling me, okay? All right. My beautiful Libras, this is happening in your 9th house. So this is your higher education, religion. This is the guru house. This is the teacher house. So there's something that you are supposed to be teaching, and you are scared. And people, your family members are telling you like, oh, don't teach that. Don't talk about that. Like, oh my gosh, you can't talk about that. People aren't going to listen to you. Like, that is like naysayer energy, right? But you have some knowledge. You have some wisdom that you are supposed to give to the collective, some spiritual knowledge, some spiritual wisdom. And so make sure with Sedna in your 9th house that you are giving that spiritual knowledge and that spiritual wisdom out to the public, okay? Make sure you're doing that. And you could be a great spiritual teacher. Now's the time. Do not listen to the naysayers when they say that's not a good idea, right? Like me in astrology, like I was a huge Christian and I'm still a Christian, but now I put them together. I bridge the two, I bridge the gap, right? Because God is everywhere. All right, so my beautiful Scorpios. All right, so this is happening in your 8th house. So your 8th house is, you know, all about the 8th house is the unknown. It's the dark. And so Sedna here is having you dive deep into the unknown, deep into like the secular world, into astrology world, and to really dive deep into that knowledge and to really face that shadow side of yourself that doesn't want to face the dark. You hate the freaking dark. But this is asking you to face the dark, to face the truth, to own your dark, to own your shadow, to speak it, to live it, to love it, and to say, yes, I was addicted to this, or I, did this in my past, and this is the darkness of who I am, and to really own that. And whoever betrays you, just say, bye, Felicia, you gotta go, and just let them leave. Don't let it build up inside of you, okay? All right, my beautiful Sagittarius ascendants or Sedna in your 7th house. So this has to do with relationships. And so you are really wanting a solid foundation, a solid partnership. You are really wanting something that is real and on a spiritual level, on a deep level. You don't want anything superficial. And you might find here with Sedna in Gemini where maybe your significant other or your partner, business partner as well, maybe they betrayed you in some way and now you're like having to leave them behind because you're like, I can't live in this false reality anymore because they're like Sedna's dad, they're killing me and they're killing my soul, and I'm gonna go to the depths of the ocean and find my own soul so I can have this beautiful revival and this beautiful partnership that is real and it's from the heart. And so you might really be feeling like that with Sedna and Gemini. And they always say, that emotional connection is before that intimate connection, and that is what you're really feeling with Sedna and Gemini. All right, my beautiful Capricorns, this is happening in your 6th house of daily activities and workplace. So there might be, again, a spiritual journey that you go on day to day. And this is also maybe where you are learning like yoga or meditation, putting it part of your spiritual practice. And maybe you also maybe had some coworkers that betrayed you as well, and they're talking behind your back and not speaking truth about you, especially because you're liking all of this different spiritual stuff and you're diving deep into spirituality and you're diving to the depths of spirituality or astrology or the unknown or the occult or whatever, and you're wanting to talk about it and really to speak your truth and speak your mind. And so I'm telling you, speak your truth, speak your mind, own it, okay? Because it's going to take you further when it comes to business, when it comes to your daily activities, especially when you have a spiritual practice using that Gemini brain, when you speak to the divine to open up those faucets every single day, morning and night, before you go to bed. Journal in the morning, journal at night, and make sure you set your spiritual practice and beliefs ahead. All right, my beautiful Aquariuses, this is happening in your 5th house of children, of romance. And so again here, you might have your children that, betray you, or you also might have children that are being betrayed, and they are spiritual leaders. They are creative. Their minds are freaking beautiful, and so is yours. You have so much of this mind, of this knowledge, this power, this creative energy to put it out there. But maybe you feel betrayed by your romantic partner, or maybe you don't feel like it's that creative and people are putting it down around you, but you know how good it is. So don't betray yourself, okay? Because you Aquariuses are always the ones, you're the rebels, you stand out for a reason, and you're here with Sedna to show us how to stand out, to how to have a beat from our own drum, to be creative in a unique way. And again, Sedna in your 5th house, you might have or had your children betray you, depending where this is at in your chart, and you're like, I don't have my kids, I don't have a romance, but what you do have is a creative brain. And when you start that creative faucet, you are going to attract that romantic partner to you that is just as creative as you are. All right. My ascendant in Pisces, this is in your 4th house. So the 4th house has to do with your home. It has to do with your family. And so Sedna here, you could feel betrayed by your mother with Sedna here. You could feel betrayed by women energy as well. You could feel like, you know, you had to leave your community or your home life to go on your own journey, your own spiritual path to find out who you are, to say, I can't be this false person anymore within my home life, and I need to find my own spiritual path. So maybe you're speaking your truth in your home life of what you believe in your own spirituality and what you want. And so you could feel kind of betrayed by the people around you. And so I want to tell you, go for what you believe in your own spiritual calling, listen to your mind, listen to your brain, make that connection and go towards that. Okay. All right, next is, that's it. Sedna and Pisces. So I want to tell you guys, I hope you enjoyed this energy of Sedna. Be your own best friend. This is energy of 2023 and 2024 is all about connecting with the divine, because it's the number 7 and it's all about self-love, okay? And this energy is really going to help us to show us where we have to make that connection, especially in 2023 with Saturn and Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune, which is ruled by the ocean, exactly where Sedna is. Sedna is the higher octave of Neptune. And so we can feel the depths of our soul being ripped out of us in 2023. So we find more self-love within our hearts, within our space. So go within, do the shadow work. Tell yourself, I love you, I see you, I'm proud of you. No matter who betrayed you, no matter what has happened to you, you're going in the right direction. You're believing in yourself. You're believing in your dreams. And just know, when you believe in yourself, you set your heart on fire for something. That's also when you can help other people release the shackles and the bondage of where they are being betrayed by others and living in the shackles and the lies to keep them in bondage, to keep them trapped in the ego cycle. And so I want to tell you, release it and let it go and make that spiritual connection this year as we are in the Divine 7, and you will see the karmic reward in 2024. All right. I love you guys. Have a blessed night.